Last month we went over back tire hops on a hill and on flat ground, and today I'm going to be talking about taking that to the next level by going from rock to rock. Besides just looking cool, back tire hops can be very beneficial in getting through a tricky part of a section. Right here I have 3 rocks in a line, and the most efficient way is to do it all in the back tire. But we're going to start with 2 rocks, focus on that before moving to the third one. Since this first rock is not very big or square, you can either drive the rear tire in and roll across the top before popping, or you can do a zap and set the rear tire on top before gapping across. Even if you can drive the rear tire into it, it's good to practice zapping, because if this was more square, it'd be much harder to drive in, but I almost always prefer a zap. For me, it just sets the suspension up better. Right when my rear tire lands up top, the rear shock compresses and wants to rebound right away, and I can use that for my timing. When the rear tire drives in, it might stay compressed, and it's a bit harder to time and a bit harder to get as much lift to the next rock. Just like on the flat ground, it's all about timing, but now that you're on an obstacle, it's about where you pop the clutch on that obstacle. If you pop it too early, you might spin, or you might go straight up and loop out or not make the gap. If you pop it too late, the rear tire will want to drive straight down right into the gap. You probably won't make it, so you want to use the very top of the rock. And to do that, you try to pop the clutch just a couple inches before. This is the spot you're shooting for to pop the clutch and use that as rebound and traction. Since it's a little bit slick, I can't get away with popping it here. I have to roll right to the top and pop off of the top, so hopefully the tire will form around that and give me good drive, good traction, and good pop to the next one. I'm going to stick to first gear for this. It provides the quickest pop and the most control, and since I don't need the power and speed for any big gaps, first gear is going to be the best bet. You shouldn't need the rear brake unless you loop out on the first one and need to bring it down before you gap, but you should be covering it once you get in the air, so if you land a little bit too far, you land up top flat here, then you can land on the rear brake to bring the front end down, keep from looping out. If you're coming up a bit short, you can plan on slipping the clutch and leaning back and trying to keep the front tire up, but if you're too short, you'll probably case it and skid plate. You might not make the gap, you have to push out of it, but you always want to shoot for right at the corner, and you want the front tire pretty high, so you can land, take the impact, let the front tire come down nice and controllably to put it down right where you want to. Although you can still make it if you land up top, or if you land a little bit short, you should always be shooting for the sweet spot right at the corner, front end up, and try to controllably bring the front end down when you're just focusing on 2 rocks. That'll help you when you're ready to go on to 3. Once you get comfortable and consistent getting to that second rock, now it's time to bring on the third one. If you look closely, the first rock is actually taller than the second one, so I don't need a whole lot of throttle, a whole lot of body to make that gap, but then the third one is taller than the second one, so I actually need more to get to the third one. So when I land, I'm going to let the shock settle for a second so I can build the power up a little bit and get ready to jump with my body and pop the clutch and hopefully get up to that third rock. If you land with the front tire way up, don't be afraid to let that front tire drop a bit before you pop the clutch again, because if you just try to pop the clutch when the front tire is way up, you're just going to loop out more and not get much distance. So you want to be patient with the middle one and just go when you're ready. I always try to minimize my correction hops, but if you land a little bit off balance and you need to save yourself, some small hops will buy you some time until you're ready to make the gap. If you land with the front tire too low, you have to be ready to act right away. Right when you get on it, you're going to have to pop the clutch and jump and hopefully keep the front tire out of the hole and still get some lift to make it to the final rock. Landing on the final rock is just like if you were just doing 2 and landing on the second rock. If the front tire is too high or if you went too far, land with the clutch in and the rear brake on and wait for the front end to come down. If you're on the sweet spot, you can just land with the clutch in or just slip it slightly, or if you're a bit short, land with the clutch slipping, a little bit power applied, and try to keep from skid plating. As the gaps get bigger, you will either need more power, more speed, or more body, or a combination of all 3. As an extreme example of this, I'm going to jump from this rock, miss that rock, and land on the third rock. Since I need so much more speed and I'm going to be clearing such a further distance, I'm going to click up to second gear for this one. The technique is the same, but I'm going to be coming in much faster. This is going to make the takeoff point feel a lot smaller. I'm going to do the same thing, a quick zap, and since I have so much speed, I'm going to have to be ready to pop right away, pop the clutch and jump as high as I can, and right when I take off of this one, I'm going to be looking exactly where I want to land on this final rock. There's not a lot of room to land, so I know if I overshoot it, I'm going to need to land on the brake. If I undershoot it, I'm going to land and slip the clutch and hopefully keep from skid plating. Another thing that really helps when you're trying to clear more distance is to really stab the pegs when your rear tire lands. Just push on them as hard as you can and try to drive the rear tire into the ground. This will give you more drive and more compression of the shock, which will lead to more rebound and further distance. Just like learning these on the flat ground, it takes a while to be comfortable and consistent with them, but hopefully it will pay off in a section someday.